A poet bellies up to every bar, looks at the bartender, says, "It's been a hell of a century." 2 sonnets, rocks. Bartender says, "That's a dead man's game." Poet laughs, says, "Not quite," coughs up a lighthouse. Bartender says, "There's no storms here, not for a couple decades." Poet says, "I know, that's the problem." Bartender pours and pours stiff. Poet feels the cold in the glass like something a mortician would pretty up realer than life. Poet downs it, feels something frozen, burning a tongue loose like meter. Poet says, "Damn." Bartender says, "Good, right?" Poet says, "Hell yeah." That's a thing carved from a living tree, something lightning would kiss forever. There's an old joke about poets and drinking. Do you know it? Bartender says, "I didn't realize it was a joke." Poet says, "Neither do most people." And yet, here we are. Bartender pours the second sonnet, sets it down hard. Poet downs it hard. And poet spits up an avalanche of dead white guys and also Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Bartender says, "Oh God." Poet tries to say not quite, but realizes that tradition has scraped flesh from throat like termites curling inside a tree, leaving a voice a hollow thing. So poet helps the bartender clear away the corpses, and poet starts to finally fucking write. So hi. So, I did a show recently at the Fremont Abbey. All the poems I'm doing tonight are new shit except for this one, which I did at the Fremont Abbey.
Fremont Abbey shit.
Right? So mostly new shit. This is one time performed ever before shit. When I was performing there, they asked me not to curse during my set. 4 hours before my set. I freaked out a little bit. 10 responses to being asked not to curse during my performance at the Fremont Abbey. 1, fuck. 2, shit. 3, what? They think I'm some kind of trained monkey. They can just shoot into a space, turn the microphone on, and watch me dance. I will literally pull down my pants on stage, shit in my hand, and throw it at the audience. This ain't a diaper, motherfuckers. It's a goddamn ammo bag, and I'm so full of shit and piss and vinegar, I'm loaded up for days. 4. I've been told that the use of expletives is the marker of a limited vocabulary and imagination. I will turn this microphone into a machine gun and split expletives into the darkness just to watch the horizon recoil, bloody the sky with combustion and aftermath. I'm uncertain if I'm overeducated or undereducated to be penning a defense of profanity. I just know that I like to watch shit burn. 5. If wishes were machetes, the hedges would be better trimmed, and we'd all be minus a few limbs, but it'd be worth it to see our subconscious desires made manifest. A list of vicious imaginings checkboxed into oblivion like checkered pasts we erase from our memories time after fucking time. 6. There's an expectation that I boast in rhyme in order to acknowledge the debt this form owes to hip-hop, so fuck it, why not? I ignite shit when I write it, whatever. My pen drips ink to light it, whatever. Rock suckers call me igneous, the way I spit fire like a fighter flying over a high wire volcano. Call me St. Helens, the voice that sank 1,000 quips. I'm so full of shit. All my friends call me dry dock, and drawbridges rise when I step to them. My clock's ready to accelerate like a saint for you to venerate. Better pray that my voice don't break so you can imitate. I'm better than butter, but I'm bitter when a motherfucker wanna tell me what I can do or do not. I get greasy like Brando. Last tango in Paris. It's easy to spit canned lines and say mindful of where it's verging on cliche to say fuck you, pay me, appropriating rhythms like I YouTube, vainly 7. Dear Macklemore, you're fucking up. 8. Hey boy, you got a smile bigger than an oil rig or Starbucks. And I come back to mine after and frack. 9. 9. You're welcome. 10. If we believe that words have power, we are not wrong to fear them. I cannot begrudge censors this. They are only acting on the truth upon which I have built my life. If I bridle, it is only a sign that I am still an unbroken horse. When I twist words like wishes, it is only a sign that we are all of us beggars before language, longing for our dreams to become flesh. So let's fucking ride. I wrote a new chapbook for this feature. It's all stuff that I've written in like the last 3 weeks. I've been going through some life changes. I've been in college for 10 years straight, and I decided not to be anymore, which I'm pretty happy about. And I've been writing like happy poems and stuff, right? It's so weird. So, chapbook is called Ceci n'est pas a frickin' chapbook, which is French and also English for this is not a frickin' chapbook.
How much is it?
It's $5.
Only $5?
Cool. So this is one of the poems from it. It's not one of the happier ones, but it's new, and like all this shit is new. Cool. It's called Gravel. One night when I was floating, the ceiling started talking at me the way ceilings do every sticky-breathed Florida summer. It didn't say words, but the resonance of it shook my neck like wheat shakes a cricket. The vastness of new-seen fields unfurling flags in the fog-uniformed history of morning. Every sunrise, a genealogy of absorption, swallowing fire from the sky. I came back to earth with a hand on my skull's back. Another buried wrist deep and bloody in a story I wasn't telling but was choking on anyway. My boyfriend shoving charcoal down my mouth until my teeth turned black with words I don't remember save for heave and bitter. Something like a revolution whose dreamers ran out of ink, painting the streets with themselves and never got to bury their stories in paper. When I was 3, my mother's gravel-heavy fists taught me about dinosaurs and the gospel of absorption. A plastic bucket full of pine cones doubling for hunger. I didn't say anything, just watched those echoes shred and crush, learned something about birth. The way potential life transforms into the real thing. The way the earth lets go its molten for piles of cold stone and a slow grinding. The night I learned about the Yucatan, I stayed up for hours, wondering how fire could blot out the sun. I thought them brothers. Twin fists curled at winter, inseparable, like brothers are supposed to be, their voices close enough to be mistaken by their friends. I've never had a firm grasp on the difference between people and the world, or not people and people, or a hailstorm and a machine gun, or Pompeii and Johnstown and Jonestown. Question: what is the difference between a pyroclastic flow, a bursting dam, and a cup overflowing with promises and tasteless faith? Answer: my grandmother does not speak about walking through Nagasaki after. I asked twice and learned not to ask again. Something about snow falling from clear skies, about one flake tasting much like another, something about lungs. The transforming of air into poison, the way the world takes root in our bodies like it is a living thing, its voice close enough to our own to be mistaken by anyone who cannot tell a fist full of rocks from a thing that defines itself by hunger. It is a strange sunrise that struggles to breathe. We do not credit fire with desperation or the horizon with gasping and gasping and gasping. The rattle of sky against sky when a plume of smoke clutches the sun by the neck and shakes it. We do not call it a violence. We only call for the flame to be smothered. drowned. And he grabbed me by the skull and forced half a burning into my flesh. I found myself thinking of dinosaurs. What it must have felt like to watch the sky burn and know it as a sunrise meant for someone who had yet to be born, to feel gravel shifting in your belly and know it as a drowning, the absence of faith, a volcano, a lesson about hunger. When the ceiling stopped speaking to me, I cried like an impact crater or a sunrise. Let's go a little quiet for a minute now that I've been yelling at you. I've been working with this Japanese syllabic form called the tanka, which is like a haiku, except there's another couplet after it. So it's rather than 5-7-5, it's 5-7-5-7-7. And this was a form that was used to write love letters back in the 1600s and 1700s, before we came in with ships and cannons and stuff, right? So lovers would leave these poems like under a rock or in some place, and then their lover would find it and write a new one in response and then place that, which I thought was kind of beautiful. And these aren't love poems, but yeah, so I've been playing with this. It's called A Chain of Quiet Storms. 1. It's a rare hurricane that carries thunder. They are quiet storms for all their howling. Wind, rain, never echo. Fallen void clusters filling themselves, flood of air into air. Spiral notebooks, writing whole echoes into falling trees. Lines awaiting a scratchless quill. 2. If you hear thunder, your body still knows itself impermeable. A passageway light cannot traverse, a thin masquerade. Call this privilege. To collapse identities in unquiet cells, infinite specter of strike illuminating each frame. 3. After Andrew left, the beaches were more serene than I'd imagined possible. A sand-blasted cloak of abandoned cities, it felt so unlike disaster. I couldn't fathom approaching return. Reconstruction's second storm, the chaotic pride of home. 4. One morning, you said our lives were the quietest hailstorm. Impact stripped of symphony. A silent fall of glass. I wrote you love notes. Waited for slow breaths to flood paper transparent. They stayed legible until your traces were gone. The trailing edge of winter. 5. After Katrina, every hurricane carries a ghost of bursting. All Icarus winged in oblation for thunder. She was Cassandra. Another flight. Everyone forgets in the flash, the erasure, the washing away through walls and wet eyes. 6. To stand in empty fields in lightning storms is to know every patch of earth as a birthing place for glass. No dirt too soft to shatter. Listening to eyes is an act of enclosure within silences, a synesthesia, a surround of spinning air. 7. After Andrew left, after nail-gun echoes died, my father came home, nail-palmed and sacrificial, a join of silence and fear. Our kitchen table, wood he'd hammered together, turned to an altar, proof of insufficiency, a stone-eyed testament to lack. 8. After Andrew left, after silent hailstorms died, after Icarus, after every stone altar, every insufficient proof, I knew glass tasted like a silent hurricane. The absence of sky and its wind-driven quiet, the raindrops' echoless howl. More poems from the chat book, yay! It's called In Which I Reveal My Secret Identity. Most days I am mild-mannered, hiding my eyes behind thick frames and my muscles behind business casual. Most days I am a humble public servant, standing in front of students in coffee-stained corduroy and careful word choice. Most days I am Peter Parker, am Clark Kent, am Diana Prince. I would be Bruce Wayne, but I ain't never gonna have that kind of money. Most days my life is humdrum. Routine is boring. But not every day. Every Sunday from 2 till 6, I am no longer Mike, the grader of essays. No longer Mike, the stressed out grad student. No longer Mike, the cute guy behind the counter at the local head shop. Every Sunday from 2 till 6, I am no longer Mike. I am Fred, the level 7 druid. I ride into combat on the back of my faithful companion, Sparkles the battle corgi. And together we rain down fire and blood and glitter on the heads of our enemies when the field has been won. And the bodies of our foes lie strewn like fallen trees in the wake of the hurricane that is us. And the prince we rescued has asked for my hand, and I've been like, please, babe. You're fine and all, but you ain't about to tie this down, for real. I'm a motherfucking leaf on the wind. And after Sparkles has gorged himself on the dead, and I have scratched the blood-stained fur on his belly, because really, what dog doesn't like a tummy rub? When all that is done, I throw my arms wide and shout, I am Fred! Destroyer of worlds, bringer of justice, what evildoer dares step to this? Do we have any more pizza? We live in a world haunted by the specters of fallen superheroes. The star running back goes home and slits his wife's throat. The soldier is fighting a war less than unambiguously noble. Our fathers are only human. We are told that becoming mature means letting go of our heroes, that the path to adulthood is littered with the corpses of our dreams, that there is nothing past the drudgery of the everyday, past the horizon of the grind, that 9 to 5 is the edge of existence. This is why I go to bed every night with Professor X watching over me. Why I wake up every morning and gaze into the eyes of Captain America. Not Ultimate Captain America, because he's a fucking asshole just weaving what the fuck. This is why every Sunday from 2 till 6, I am Fred, a level 7 druid, with a handful of dice and a battle corgi named Sparkles telling stories that I can believe in. 3 sonnets for Ariel. 1. First person. In the old stories, I traded tail and voice to dance on blades forever without blood. The prince watched me, his eyes like soup spoons, until I melted into broken waves. A return home is a way of dancing on familiar knives, not bloodless, but built from thicker things than muted want and mermaids' deaths, too. Your sister hands you a knife. This will teach you to walk. Take it. Fold it in the shipwreck your skin calls your bones. Name yourself a newer story, a faded rhythm. Know your breath embodies riptide is a way of pulling legs from body's shore. Hold your blade sandbar close. Your prince is dreamless, embracing a voice he thinks gave him the gift of air. 3. There was a storm. Lifeboats danced like kelp. The bodies tasted heavy and slick with kick and cloth. Those few refugees from a keeling husk's spine they scattered for rocks or fertile earth. Kicked with heavy feet, she watched him dance. His hair, fire. Her eyes, cold water. She dreamed of flying forever. So, this is gonna be my last poem. I'm not sorry. I'm sorry, but also I'm not sorry. I've been talking to a cluster of friends for a little while now about my plans for after I die. It's okay. It's a happy poem, I swear. You know who you are. I see you. There's that. Death, it's a thing. It happens to people. There's that, and there's this Denez Smith poem called Dinosaurs in the Hood, which I love so much. It's such a good poem, right? And I saw that about a month ago at the Individual World Poetry Slam in Phoenix. And I've been writing and writing and writing and watching that poem over and 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 over. And it's been something that has gotten stuck in my head. So I figured I might as well combine these things. This is sort of a poem about what happens after I die and when I die. It's titled Arachno-Singularitarianism after Denez Smith. It's Arachno-Singularitarianism after Denez Smith. I figure my body has about 20 years left. I know I'm young and I look good and often I feel it, but my joints are slow-motion supernovas in my flesh's lack of gravity. Something like a badly timed stand-up set in a bar nobody goes to for the comedy. A series of stupid punchlines about recent catastrophes, and it's not too soon. It's never too soon. It's just that the whole mess was poorly written and doesn't hold together very well, and my heart is already telling secrets under its breath when I sleep, and the doctors are already putting pieces of dead people into me and pulling pieces of me out. So I figured by the time this meat puppet I call a body cuts its own strings and collapses, anyone in love with me will be embracing an echo or an empty stage or an army of ghosts in a new suit. This is not a poem about embracing life or living every moment to its fullest or any of that corny bullshit. I'm not going to tell you that you're alive so you should live like it, because fuck that. I figure you know your life and nobody ever did much good by belittling other people's problems. I'm just saying that my body got about 20 years left and I'm not afraid of what comes after. Because if my calculations are correct, the singularity should hit in about 18 years, which means I'll be able to download my consciousness into a robot body before my joints and organs decide to make like a tree and rot. I put a lot of time into considering what form that body should take, because if I don't have to look like a human all sticky and bipedal and wobbly and full of blood, why the fuck would I ever want to look like a human? Nah. When I give my robot body, I'm going straight up enormous spider. I'm talking 6 feet tall, 8 legs made from stainless steel or titanium or some space age alloy that hasn't been invented yet. It turns out that humans get around by basically falling over and over and catching themselves before they hit the ground. Fuck that shit. I'm going to be so goddamn stable that horses, and I'm not going to fall anymore, except in autumn or love, and there's a problem there. the one flaw in my immaculately conceived plan. So far as I've been able to tell, most people don't want to cuddle with an enormous robot spider. Something about hard, cold, many-legged metal, and I refuse to sacrifice my legs, but I could cover myself with a flesh analog so my digital robot spider body can cuddle. And the closest thing I found to the way people feel is boiled yams. And so I know what you're thinking. Why not just use silicone? There's an easy answer. I don't want my robot spider legs to be mistaken for dildos. And nobody mistakes a boiled yam impaled on a robot spider for a dildo. This makes perfect sense, right? I will inhabit my yam-covered robot spider body and will cuddle happily from within my yam-covered robot spider body for something approaching forever, or at least something approaching the heat death of the universe, which will be the next item on my to-do list right after conquering literally fucking everything. Because when the great robot war to exterminate humanity occurs, when Skynet, when HAL 9000, when AM, when the first law is superseded, I know what side I'm going to be on and running, and my yam-covered robot spider body is not a metaphor about my fear of death or loneliness. It is not an attempt to compensate for my flesh, the way it is always stumbling forward and sideways, the way every step is another chance for my stupid human legs to fail to catch me, the way every heartbeat is another secret my veins are straining to hear. I am tired of falling. My yam-covered robot spider body is not a metaphor, not a wish that every morning I could spin another web to catch me and hold me tight. And besides, I'm a grown-ass human being who can face up to his terror of death and failure without an enormous yam-covered robot spider looming like the edge of a cliff. And besides, I don't have to be afraid of death, because I'm going to live forever. I'm going to live forever. I'm going to be absolutely fucking terrifying and absolutely fucking awesome and absolutely fucking covered in yams. And the yams are not a metaphor, and the spider is not a metaphor, and this poem is full of blood and dying stars and ghosts, and this poem is a meat puppet cutting its own strings and refusing to contemplate the possibility of falling because it has 8 fucking yam-covered metal legs, and there's no need to be afraid of anything except our own monstrosity. And also bears, because bears, and the bears are not a metaphor, and the fear is just fear, and the yam-covered robot spider is just so fucking awesome, and it's not too soon. It's never too soon, no matter what is said at my funeral, no matter how stupid the punchlines, no matter how recent the catastrophe, it's never too soon. I figure my body has about 20 years left. And I don't know if the singularity is actually going to happen, or when, and I don't know if I'll actually get an awesome robot spider body, and I don't know if I'd actually cover it in yams if I did. I do know that I'm tired of falling. I do know that I like telling bizarre stories about beautiful futures, or maybe beautiful stories about bizarre futures, and I figure I can live in those. Either way.